Test, test, test. Good morning, everyone. How are we all doing this morning? Can everybody do me a favor? I don't want to see any empty seats. Can all of you move forward, please? Move forward. Good morning, everyone. If you can...
across the U.S. to teach you their secrets to success so that you can accelerate your success. And today we have an unbelievable guest. I cannot wait for you to hear his story. So Chicago, if you would, help me welcome to the stage $100 million producer, Diego Corzo. All right, have a seat, have a seat. Thank you so much for being with us here today, all the way from Austin, Texas. Yes. So Diego, like I was saying earlier, I cannot wait for everyone to hear your story. It is so inspirational, overcoming the odds. It's just incredible what you've done. You sit here today, you're a $100 million producer. You became a multimillionaire at the age of 30. You've been a TEDx speaker. I'm thinking, what in the world has this guy not done, right? And I think you're only, what, 30? 34. You're only 34, so there's so much more to come. So behind every success story, there are always challenges and obstacles. Yes. And I always like to say it's the untold story behind the story that we don't get to see. So I would love it if you would take all of us on a little journey back to the Diego before all of this success. Yes. So back to when you and your family came here from Peru, and I believe you were only 9 years old at that time. Correct. So take us back there and we'll start on that journey with you.
Yes, perfect. Thank you very much for having me. It's an honor to be here and to be able to share my story with everybody online and also here in the crowd. So I came here when I was 9 years old from Lima, Peru. We came here with a tourist visa, but we overstayed it, so we became undocumented. I am what Congress calls a dreamer and a DACA recipient, even till today. My journey throughout my story, because it has been a roller coaster, at 15, I hit my first challenge of not being able, I found out that I couldn't get my driver's license because of my lack of papers. I didn't know. That's when it hit me what it meant to be undocumented as a kid. And then at 18, found out I couldn't qualify for student loans or financial aid. I was able to go to college for 1 year, and I was able to get a job. But as I was going through the application process, they needed my work authorization, and I didn't have it. I thought I did when I called my mom, and she's like, we don't have that. So that was the other obstacle. So at 19, I found out I couldn't work, couldn't drive, couldn't get student loans. A lot of obstacles, but I remember what my parents told me, that the U.S. is the land of opportunity, but it is up to us to find it. So I know that we're gonna get more into it later, but while I was in college, I read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that book, when I was 21 years old, it changed my mind, changed my whole mindset on how I wanted to build wealth in the United States. And throughout that process, I was able to later invest in real estate and become a realtor and everything. So long story short, up until 22 years old, I couldn't work or drive legally in the US. I bought my first house at 23, 24 years old through house hacking. But I got financially free by age 26 and a millionaire by 29. And I share this in a way to show everybody that it is up to us, right? We're in this country, lots of opportunity, but we do have to work hard. And it's all about being resourceful. I had a lot of no's. We all get lots of no's, but it's not, oh, why can I do it? It's more, how can I do it? And throughout that journey, became a realtor, and I've been able to grow that as well, have an amazing team. And I'm in Austin, Texas too. I miss that part. But that's a little bit of my story of being able to, how I started in real estate. I got my license when I was 23 years old, 24 years old. And I started doing that part-time till I went full-time in 2015. And it's been an amazing journey. And now I have the privilege to lead the Nino team along Victor Nino, who has been a guest too.
Yes.
We have an amazing team in Austin, Texas, so shout out to the team of around 17, 18 agents right now. And it's been an incredible journey to be able to help them grow too, and throughout the journey too, also teach them how I build my business and how they've been able to do the same. And that's what we'll be sharing today.
Yes,
the
today.
different tactics.
Yes, we're gonna dive into all things about being investor friendly, right?
Exactly.
So I know you often say that resourcefulness is what I like to say part of your zone of genius. You like to say it's one of your unfair advantages, and
Yes.
I know you learned that probably from your parents, right? I think all of you when you came here to the United States did not speak any English. Is that correct?
Correct.
So you were here, you moved in with an aunt,
Yes.
right? And I think
Yes.
all of you lived in like one.
In one house. We all lived there. My parents, my brother and I, we were in a bunk bed for around three months while we got our feet like getting used to the United States, and yeah, it was quite a journey. We even had a van that my parents bought for $800 that it didn't have seats in the back, so for a week we would just be in the back seat like on the floor, and we call it the ghost train, or in Spanish el tren fantasma, because we didn't know when it was going to turn on, when the windows were going to come down, when the radio was going to work. It would stall on random red lights. So it was like the ghost train. We had no idea if it was haunted or not. But that was, those were like right as we were starting out. But then again, it was more like those were the resources that we had, and we always had to do with what we had. Right.
Right, and I believe your parents worked at a restaurant, and
Yes.
and you often say that you and your brother, felt like you grew up, living at the restaurant, because I think they were there, like open to close, and so
Yes.
you saw how hard they were working.
Yes, that was one of those things that I learned from my parents. Is they taught me work ethic, and that because of the fact that they took me to the restaurant, watching them work from 11, 10 a.m., and it was Miami, so Friday nights, for example, they would have karaoke night, and so the restaurant would close at like 5 in the morning for karaoke night, so we would be there at the restaurant. So from 11, then Saturday they would open up at 11, and the same thing, so we would be there all day. My brother and I will sleep at the restaurant sometimes too, until my parents took us home, but we saw their work ethic, and because of that, I got the entrepreneurial bug, because, for example, being from Peru, we eat a lot of the ceviche, and ceviche has a lot of lemons, right, and or limes, and to make it juicy. So what's funny was that I would see my parents working, and I was 10 years old, and I was the kind of person that I didn't want to ask my parents for stuff, but I wanted to get a TV. I was 10 years old. I wanted to get a TV, and I was like, how would I be able to afford a TV without asking my parents? So I asked the owner of the restaurant, and I was like, would I be able, if I squeeze the lemons for a box, if I can squeeze a full box of lemons, can you pay me $10? And he's like, sure. So that's how I was able to save money, but I saw opportunity here or there. And I'm a big believer, and this is one of the things that I share in my TED Talk, of when the door of opportunity is closed, go through the window. Like there's always opportunity, even if you get hurt. I got hurt, but no, I'm just kidding.
That's right.
But always go through the window, because there's always a way for people that want to get that opportunity. So there might be things that it might be there, but people are not willing to do the hard work. And I'm a big believer that if you do the hard work, there is always a way to achieve your goals.
100%. I mean, and that reminds me of another story that you shared. So we'll fast forward, you're in college at this point. Your best friend is giving you Rich Dad, Poor Dad to
Yes.
read. You're inspired. You decide, I want real estate to be my vehicle, right, to building wealth. And you had about a year's worth saved in order to put yourself through college for 1 year.
Yeah.
And so now you're like, okay, I need to figure out how I'm going to pay for the rest of school. So can you
Yes.
take us through that experience of, again, you being resourceful,
Yeah.
because now you figure out how how to start a business.
Yes, exactly. So being at that point without DACA, I didn't have papers, I didn't have anything, but because I found out that I didn't have work authorization, I was like, there has to be another way. And I looked online, I asked around, and I found out that I could create my own company, get an EIN number, and companies can pay my company instead of Diego Corzo. The government still wants their taxes, right? So whether you do it in your name or as a company, that's how I was able to work being a contractor and doing websites. So they would pay me as a contractor, I would build their websites, and imagine, I was living in Florida, right? So summer heat, imagine, this is 2010, 2011, and I would have to have meetings with either nonprofits, CPA, so that I can do their websites. And the issue was that I didn't have a car. There was no Uber back then, no Lyft, nothing, so my bike was my only mode of transportation. So there were times that I would put a suit in my backpack and a towel, I would ride my bike in gym clothes, and I would have to ride my bike, park my bike in the back of the building, dry off with a towel, change into my suit, and then walk to the front of the building. And I would convince them, right? I would share everything that I know. I would get the job, let's say, like I would get the project so that I can do their website. And then I would go to the back of the building, change into my sweaty gym clothes, and ride my bike back home. So that's how I was able to do it, and it's all about the hustle. There's no excuses. And I remember that at the end of the day, again, my parents always said, hey, Diego, you can achieve anything you want in the US. We just have to work a little bit harder, and that is okay. So my brain was always from that perspective of like, hey, no matter what, we make it happen, right?
That's right.
And that was the mindset. But learning about that in me creating my company, that's how I was able to pay for college. And they were paying my company instead of Diego Corzo. All about resourcefulness. There's always a way.
Yes, okay, and so after that, then you get a job with GM.
With General Motors, yes.
Yep, and so you're getting ready to move to Austin. You're passionate about real estate,
Yes.
and tell us the story about how you met Victor.
Yeah.
Because that really leads you into the first strategy that we're going to share
Yes.
with all the agents today,
Yes.
which you love to refer to as house hacking.
Yes.
So tell us the story about Victor, and then we'll dive into our strategies for today.
Yeah. So so basically, when I was 21 years old, I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. And that book taught me two things. If nobody has read, like if you haven't read it, read it. It will change your life, change your mindset. So that book teaches two things, that we can trade our time for money or make our money work for us, right? Make your money work for you. So I knew that I wanted to build wealth in real estate so that I can make my money work for me. In that process, I found out about a strategy called house hacking. That was the name that had online, but for us, we've been doing that for a while, but the official name of house hacking was you can buy a house, rent out the rooms while you're living there with low money down, or buy a duplex, triplex, or quadplex, again with low money down. You live on one side and you rent out the other. So I thought while I was working at GM, this was going to be a great opportunity to be able to start building wealth. I had already my DACA documents. The DACA part came in 2012. So I was ready. I had now work authorization, social, like all of that, driver's license finally. And then throughout that process, in me wanting to buy a home, so Victor sponsored a salsa event. I love salsa dancing. So he sponsored a salsa event, and I didn't meet him at that event, but he got a shout out on a Facebook group. He's like, shout out to Victor and all these other sponsors, Victor Realtors. So I reached out to him and I was like, Victor, I didn't meet you, but would love to meet you because I'm looking to buy a house in the future. I want to do house hacking. When we meet, I tell him, hey, I'm 23 years old. This is what I want to do. He's like, oh, I've been house hacking too since I was 21. And I was like, oh, this is great. Then we can talk more about investing in the future. So he became my realtor. But as I was talking to lenders, a lot of lenders will tell me, no, this is back then with DACA, they had no idea what DACA was. They're like, how can you be here just for 2 years, blah, blah, blah. So one lender told me yes. And I told him, I don't have a green card, don't have citizenship. Are you sure you can give me the loan? He's like, yes, conventional loan, it will work. 2 weeks before closing, so Victor helps me, right? 2 weeks before closing, we go through that process and they said, hey, Diego, everything is approved, but we just need to see your green card. And I'm like, I told you we don't have one. I don't have one. And so then what happens is I had to cancel the contract, and I felt bad for Victor because we had seen probably like 8 houses, and we had negotiated one, and it fell through. And so was the one that we really wanted, that I really wanted. So from that perspective, I felt bad telling him, hey, we have to cancel, and I'm not going to be able to buy a house. So we had to cancel, and then I asked Victor, hey, do you need help with anything on the tech side? Because I have a tech background. And he goes, well, I'm not pretty good with tech, so yes, let's meet up, and then you can show me what you can do. So I meet up with him. I help him out a little bit, and then we start talking about personal development. I see the books that he was reading, and I was like, my gosh, you read the same books that I'm reading. So we became friends. Fast forward a couple of months, I was at that point, okay, I can't buy a house yet in Austin, but maybe I can learn how to be a realtor, becoming a realtor, so that when I'm ready, I know the market, I know some more people, stuff like that. So I reached out to him, and I'm like, Victor, if I get my license, would you mentor me? He's like, sure. I was like, all right. Then I said, can I drive you around for free? I'll be your chauffeur for 2 weekends and see if I like it. He's like, sure, driver, why not? For free? Perfect.
Right.
Perfect. So I did, and we saw, we showed homes. I learned a lot about the conversations, the scripts that he was having, how he talked to people. We were writing contracts in the car, all that stuff, and I was like, oh, I can do this. This is good. So I got my license, and I did it part-time for 1 year and 4 months. I got my license in 2014, and then in 2015, Victor calls me and he says, look, Diego, I need help. Well, I'm doing this all by myself. I see that you have the hustle. Why don't we team up and you can be my buyer's agent? Like, I told him, dude, I'll do everything because I don't know much about being a realtor yet. I don't know anybody here, so this is my opportunity to leverage my unfair advantage. And I'm a big believer in unfair advantages, and you'll hear me say that a few times. My unfair advantage at the time was that I had time, and Victor had knowledge, experience, he had the connections, the network. I didn't know anybody in Austin. So I was like, okay, if I can team up with Victor, somebody that has everything that I need, and I have the time, this is perfect. He leverages me, I leverage him, right? So that's what happened. I did all of his business for a little while, and then I started getting more traction. And then I read the book, The E-Myth, amazing book if you haven't read it yet, talked about systemizing a few things within the business. And then I told Victor, we need to hire people, we need to hire an admin, we need to have an office manager, all that stuff. And we did. And then in 2020, we started officially the Nino team, where we are able to grow as a team. And with Victor and I now business partners, and we have a team now of around 18 agents. We sell over 100 million as a team, and it's been an incredible journey. So shout out to Victor for giving me that opportunity, and then now what we've been able to create, which is amazing.
Yes, shout out to Victor. I know
Yes.
he's watching, and to the team.
Yes,
Yay,
yes.
yes, we could definitely give everyone a hand. And I know, it's such a good reminder that one conversation literally can change your entire life, right? And so you reaching out to Victor and that whole path was a pivotal time in your life. And then I think this is a good opportunity to really visit about how important it is the people that you surround yourself with,
100%.
right? I know you really believe in that. And there's an organization, I would love for you to share the story about how you got connected to GoBundance,
Yes.
because that was another real pivotal time in your life. And then that can lead us into talking about your scale methodology.
Yes, for sure, for sure. So what ended up happening, this was a crazy part because it explains like the reason why I also like to give back to people, right? To share my journey, to share my knowledge. And it was because when I was 23 years old, as I was getting my license, I found that I listened to a podcast. And in that podcast, they were talking about the power of the mastermind. There was a guy named Pat Hyben. He had a podcast called Real Estate Rockstars. It's still today, amazing podcast. And in it, he talks about the mastermind. So I reached out online. I sent him a tweet. And I was like, hey, Pat, I just got my license. I'm getting started. You mentioned this mastermind group called Go Abundance. I would love to learn more. And he says, oh, it's a mastermind group for millionaires that love adventure, talk about financial freedom, accountability. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want in. But he said it's a mastermind for millionaires. But I didn't care. I went on the website, I submitted a form, and in it, I scheduled a call with somebody that responded, and I shared my story. And I'm like, look, I'm a big believer of what Jim Rohn says, that you are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. I told him that personal development is one of the things that I believe in, and I know my goals. I just need to surround myself with the right people. So they say, okay, a week goes by, and he says, Diego, we will have you come. Then you will be the only one that's not a millionaire, but you'll connect with everybody. And by the way, everybody has to give a 3-minute speech on something that they can provide value. There's going to be 12 of us. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. I put it on a credit card. I go to the event. He did not tell them that I was the only one that was not a millionaire. So when they're going around introducing themselves, they had to share their business, their net worth, blah, blah, blah. So we had a guy worth 40 million, 10 million, 5 million. He comes to me, and I'm like, hey, my name is Diego. I'm 23 years old. My net worth is $25,000. And I just got my license. I have big goals. I just need help. And they laughed, and they were like, who the heck let this kid in? Why is he here? And I shared my story about me being a dreamer, having DACA, and after that weekend, I turned 24 years old. And that weekend, they said, Diego, we would love to have you be part of this group. You're going to be the only one that's not a millionaire. And from that perspective, they became my mentors that day, and they've helped me all along the way, which one of the owners, one of the members, he has a private jet, and 2 weeks go by, I said yes, and 2 weeks go by, and he's like, do you want to come my private jet to go to this event? I'm like, yes, let's do it. I show up to the small airport, and I ask, where do I pass my bag through TSA? And they're like, no, you just walk to the plane. I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. So my whole life changed after that, and that goes because of the power of surrounding yourself with mentors. And I knew that by me surrounding myself with millionaires, it was just going to be a matter of time till I became one, because I had already become a millionaire in my mind and in my heart. I just needed time to make it happen, right? And that's why I'm a big believer now, of course, as part of Realty of America too. For me, it's like surrounding myself with top producers. They elevate the game, and it makes us all grow. And that's one of the things that I love doing, and always surrounding myself with people that push you forward.
Yes, well, and you do that for so many others, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So let's dive into our training portion of today,
Yes.
and you're really going to dive deep about teaching agents how to become investor friendly. So
Yes.
let's start with your scale. It's called the scale methodology. So let's start there.
Yeah.
And this is something that you typically use when you're working with investor clients. And we thought this would be a good methodology to break down for agents so that they can apply it when they are working with their own investor clients.
Correct.
So
Yes, correct. So one of the key things is always understanding the power of, when you're working with investors, you have to understand first what their end goal is. If they want to invest for appreciation, if they want to invest for cash flow, and what are their goals, because that's where you're able to help them out. Knowing what their end goals, so that you can help them see what market, like how they want to invest in that particular market. So from my perspective, right, asking them what's your 5-year goal or 10-year goal is really important on the part when you are teaching them the part of scale, like explaining the scale method, and that's what we'll do here, is number one is the strategy. So scale, if I put the acronym, I'll say the acronym and then I'll explain each one. So scale starts with strategy. The C is capital, so how they're going to be able to buy the property. A becomes more the analysis of the property once you have the strategy, the capital. A is analysis of the properties. Then you have L, lead flow of the properties. And E, you have to execute. Because a lot of people get stuck in analysis paralysis. And that's the problem with a lot of investors. That's even the problem with sometimes for realtors too. They get stuck in analysis paralysis because they hear all of these different ways that they can lead generate and so forth. So I'm a big believer in taking action. Execution is key for any business and also for any investor. So one of the ways that I like to start with, of course, is where do you see yourself in 5 years as an investor? Because then I can decide. If they tell me, Diego, I'm an attorney, I see myself being an attorney until I'm 65, I just want to park my money and that's it, then I can help them in different ways than somebody, let's say a millennial that comes to me and is like, hey, I'm 25 years old, let's say, and it's like, I want to retire in the next 5 to 8 years, don't have to depend on my job. At that point, it's a different strategy. Right, and this is key. So I always tell people, okay, when we're looking at strategy, let's say it's an investor, right, Mr. Investor or Miss Investor, these are the four ways on the strategy part that you can maximize the cash flow in a property. Number one is long-term renters, long-term tenants. Number two is short-term rentals. Number three, mid-term rentals. And number four, you can do co-livings or house hacking, which is basically maximizing the cash flow by renting by the room. So it depends, because each investor will have I want to be as hands-on as possible and I want to maximize the cash flow. Great. There are certain strategies that work better for that than just the long-term tenant. Long-term tenant is more you buy the property, put a family there, and it's a go, right, with a property manager, or you might self-manage. So that's the part of the strategy. Now, what helped me as a realtor getting started is that on the strategy part and then going into the capital, a lot of people think that you need 20% down to buy a property, to invest. And that is not true, because if you can buy a property through house hacking, which is basically you getting an owner-occupant loan and living in the property, renting by the room or getting the duplex, triplex, or quadplex, you can buy a property with an FHA loan, 3.5% down, conventional loan, 3 to 5% down, or even USDA or VA loan, which is zero money down. So I felt people buy houses with zero money down, and here's the thing that people don't know this much, is that they don't know this part, is that you can buy a house, an owner-occupant home, every year or every other year. So that is what I did. And that helped me scale my portfolio too. But what's good is that this creates a way so that you can help other clients get repeat business, repeat transactions. Because from one person, if they tell you, Diego, I want, and this happened to me while I was working at General Motors, I began helping all these young people that wanted to buy homes in the next few years, let's say, or even older people, it doesn't matter, but I helped them buy multiple homes in like 3 or 4 years. I helped them 3 or 4 times. And that created a level of me being able to help, let's say, 10 house hackers, 10 people, 10 investors. The next year, I was helping 10 investors, plus them getting repeat, buying their next house. And then their roommates or their tenants were like, I want to do what this guy's doing. And they would recommend me. So then I would be the one that would help them again and again, and that's how I was able to get more and more clients. But that all came from the strategy and understanding the capital that you would tell your investor that's needed. If they have 20%, great. They can get different types of loans, right? Like DSCR loan, conventional 20% down. But I want to make sure that on the capital part, there's always a way, even if people want to start investing with low money down, in a way that it is repeatable. I was just talking to someone yesterday because they said, well, Diego, it's you have more experience. I was like, it doesn't matter. I was talking to a realtor that it was a single mom, and this is her second duplex that she's buying because she's just able to repeat the process. So anybody can do this. And that is what's powerful, is that if you believe in what you can do as a realtor, you can help so many people. It's not just one transaction. You're helping somebody build wealth too. And that for me is really cool to see years down the road when they contact me and they're like, oh my gosh, Diego, I have 200,000 in equity in this. I'm living for free. I have all this income. I'm like, that's great, right? And that builds opportunity to get more referrals. And that is one way to scale your business as a realtor. That's really important. So that's the capital part of it. So you have the strategy, then you have the capital, and then what happens is once you know what strategy is going to work for that investor, that's when then we focus on the analysis. We analyze the different markets in your area, right? Because there might be some areas that are good for appreciation, other markets have more cash flow, other markets you can even do flips. It just depends, but the idea here is that you know when on the analysis what's going to be working for that investor based on the strategy that they told you that they want to do, whether it's the midterm rental or short-term rental, co-living or long-term. So that is the analysis part. And as realtors, once the client has been pre-approved and they know what type of loan with the capital that they have and the strategy, that's when we can analyze all of these deals. And then with our expertise, be able to run the numbers that way. So that's the A. Yeah.
So do you want to break down for everybody what questions they should be asking their investor clients to really determine their buy box? Because I know that's really important. And then maybe go into describing, short-term, midterm.
Yeah.
And we can talk about house hacking again.
For sure. So in the scale method, right, we have the A of the analysis, and then we have the lead flow of properties. This is why it's very important. The L of the lead flow comes by us understanding the buy box of that investor, that they've decided which one they want to do, based on what strategy. So if the investor wants to do, let's say, the short-term rental route, then there are multiple applications that one can use to be able to run the numbers on the analysis for short-term rental. But this is why it's very important to understand how hands-on that investor wants to be. So you want to ask them, hey, based on how you want to scale your portfolio and the cash flow that you might want and the city that you're in, what are the strategies that you want to explore? Do you want to explore just long-term rental? It's like, no, I just want a family and that's it. I don't want to do much work. Then that's great. If they want to be more hands-on and furnish the property and do a little bit more managing, then short-term rentals might work for them, or midterm rental. So with short-term rental, you can analyze numbers using applications like Price Labs or AirDNA. Two applications that are fairly, they're inexpensive, and they always have like a 30-day trial or a 2-week trial. So you can use those applications. On the midterm rental, Furnish Finders is one of those things that is one of the applications that you can run comparables to see how they can maximize the cash flow with midterm rentals. Now, and then co-living, which is renting by the room and maximizing the cash flow. From that one, you can always use Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace. There's applications like Roomster, and you can see what people are renting for in those particular areas. But then you definitely have to ask the investor, do you want to manage it yourself or do you want to get a property manager? And as realtors, we should be able to provide those resources. So yes, we're out there to help clients and everything, but it's very important for us to know our market and to have the connections, because as an investor-friendly realtor, which we should all be, is the fact that we should be able to have resources that will help our clients on property management, on just like we have contractors, right, or inspectors, lenders, we should also be able to have the property managers that can help in all those different areas so that we can be a best resource to help our clients, because we know that if they're able to buy one property as an investor, they may buy multiples in the years to come. So we have to constantly be out there being a resource. So that's the other thing. Now, with those strategies and that market, that's when we have the buy box that we can then tell the client, okay, which one did you want? As I was mentioning earlier, you want to furnish it. Some may be more hands-on, but at the end of the day, it might give a little bit more cash flow. So all of these things are important so that you can create that buy box of location in the area that fits the strategy and the price point based on their market. Now that you have that buy box, then you can send those properties to that buyer and be able to analyze them, right? And then you send them those properties because they might work with their strategy. But it's very important to know that all of that part is important as you help them scale, and then comes the execution of putting them under contract and then going through that process until they close. And you can also help them rent out the properties too, or put them in the right position with a property manager, giving them the resources so that you can continue helping them scale and make them cash flow, which is at the end what the investor wants.
So would you mind repeating the tools, because I know all of our agents are taking notes today.
Yeah.
Would you repeat those tools that you use for the analysis piece? And then I believe that you even do you have your own calculators as well that are available via website?
Yeah.
So let's just talk about the resources again, because I know everyone's always looking for good tools.
Yeah, so on the long-term rentals, of course, the MLS, great, right? The MLS is great. If you want an application, Rental Meter is a good one. For midterm rentals, Furnish Finders, it's a great to get to know the analysis, like running the comps. And one thing that I'll say on midterm rentals that I didn't share earlier is the location is important. Location, you want to make sure that it is near either a school or hospitals, areas where you know that some people might want to live there for over a month, right? It can be 1, 2, or 3 months. That will give the opportunity for maybe like a nurse or a family member that their family is in the hospital for them to rent the property out. So you can do the midterm rental analysis in Furnish Finders. For Airbnb, really important to run the numbers on AirDNA or Price Labs. That creates an opportunity for you to see the vacancy based on that city, based on that location. And again, for the different strategies, location is important too. Because if you, let's say I'm in Austin, right? If I get a 2-bedroom condo, it's gonna rent much more in Austin, downtown area, or close to UT, somewhere where there's a lot of events, than a 2-bedroom condo 50 minutes away on a suburb, right? So you really have to analyze those numbers, and you do that through AirDNA and Price Labs. And then of course, on renting by the room, easy on either Roomster, Craigslist, or Facebook Marketplace.
And then you have some calculators as well?
And then if you if you send me a message on Instagram at @RealDiegoCorzo, I will send you the calculators that I use as well.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect.
That'll
Okay.
be the easiest way for me to send those to you.
Okay, that'd be perfect. All right,
Yeah.
so now let's say I am ready to connect with investors. Where are the best places that I can go to meet my potential investor clients?
Yes. So there are multiple ways. I would recommend going to meetup.com and checking out the local meetups on the RIAS, Real Estate Investment Association. If you guys have read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, he talks about the game cash flow. I've gone to a couple of those meetups to play cash flow. And here's a little script that I used that helped me get a client. I was like, isn't it great that we're playing this game, but we get to play it in real life? And then they ask, oh, you are an investor? It's like, yes, I'm an investor and I'm a realtor too. And I told him, are you an investor? And he's like, no, not yet. I was like, let me help you. I can help you buy a duplex. I got his number, and then about 2 months later, he bought a duplex. And so by going to just play these games and surrounding yourself with like-minded people, again, that's how I was able to get some clients. I'm a big believer in also, I enjoy talking and teaching others on financial independence and how to get financial freedom. So I would go to different meetups where they talk about financial independence, and I got people from there because I'm like, oh yes, I got financial independence through house hacking. They're like, oh, can you speak at the next meetup on that? I said, sure. Came out with 5 clients from that, right? So just sharing on these topics and going to meetups, going to real estate association meetups. And the other thing too is so I mentioned the meetups, and there's one more there was one more, but at the end of the day, go on Facebook and look up your local investor groups and just be part of that. And whenever they meet, because investors like to talk to other investors, so just go to one of those events that they do that may not happen, it may not be anything big, but you want to build relationships. It's not going to be the first time, but if they see you again and again, and here's a tip, here's what I do. You go to a meetup, you take a picture, and you say, hey, I'm going to take a quick picture, I'm going to tag you all on Instagram. Now that you have them on Instagram, they're going to see that you are posting, that you're doing your real estate, that you're doing your stories, that you stay on top of the market, all of that, and that builds, that will allow them to say, oh my gosh, he's taking action, he knows what he's doing. When I'm ready, I'll reach out. So without me telling them, hey, call me, I'm a realtor, I just take a picture, add them on Instagram, and then boom, it just happens. So if you do that multiple times, and I would challenge everybody watching this and here too, is like in February, try to go to 3 meetups and post 3 pictures. Don't just go to the meetup and stay in the back, but have conversations and post the picture. And as a challenge for accountability, you can tag me as well as a comment. And because I love people doing the E part, execution.
Yes.
So you can come here, you can watch this and learn, but if you don't execute on it, it's just knowledge that stays in the mind, and you might as well have watched YouTube or like a show on Netflix, right? I want to make sure that you're here, you're learning, and you're executing on everything that I mentioned.
Yes.
But that for me, that simple strategy of taking a picture and tagging people, getting their Instagram, without being salesy, it comes out like it's perfect. And then they see you as the expert later because you're always there posting stories, posting reels, and all of that.
Yes, well, I know social media is a huge part of your strategy. So I would love for you to give just a couple of examples on how you're using social media to share these stories, because that is then attracting more clients and referrals.
Yes, especially with investors. For example, in Austin right now, when we're helping some investors buy new builds, right now we're at a period of time in real estate where we're in a buyer's market right now, at least in Austin, right? So we're leveraging the fact that lenders are giving down payment, like they're buying down the rate. They are doing certain things so that we can negotiate a better deal for the buyer, right? So here's what happens. Instead of just posting a picture and saying, oh, we closed, that's it. Each post, each client that you help, turn that into a story, because people just don't like saying, oh, I closed. They like they get to relate to a certain story that you share on Instagram and share potentially the numbers and the kind of deal that you were able to get that client. For example, I was able to help an investor. He bought a duplex, brand new, with an interest rate of 4.75%. I just didn't post, hey, congratulations to my client. I shared the kind of deal that we were able to get him. And I got 3 people that said, hey, can you please send me those numbers too? Like, I would love to buy one, right? So then, even though they may or they may not buy that one in particular in that neighborhood, it doesn't matter, because now I know that I can send them other properties that they're open to buying right now in this market. And then later in the next couple of months, I know that I can help them buy a home. So no matter what, from just that one Instagram story, I was able to get 3 leads, right? And so it becomes more important on how you're able to do it, the story behind that investor or that deal that will create opportunity for other investors to say, I want that one. I want what Diego was able to help this person. I'm going to reach out to Diego.
All right, I love it. Okay, so I just had this thought. Speaking of social media and execution,
Yes.
we would love everybody that's here today and our live streamers. How about they take a picture or a quick video
Yes.
and share with us what is the one thing that they're going to make sure that they do from today's session with you, and maybe one key nugget that they're walking away with today.
Yes.
Yes, and if you all would DM that to us,
Yes.
right? So America's Real Estate Show. DM that to us, America's Real Estate Show. If you're one of our live streamers watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to our channel so you're always alerted to what's going on. And it would be so cool to put together a wrap-up video, and we can include your photos and the videos that you sent in, sharing with us today what maybe the one key thing. Yes, go ahead. I think that'd be so fun.
To be able and tag us, like tag me and I'll reshare it. And here's the one thing that I love doing too, is whenever you learn something, and this goes not just for this particular episode that I'm here, but just for any episode in the future, reach out to those guests, reach out to those people, tell them what you learned, because you want to build a relationship too with them. That's what I did when I listened to that podcast from Pat Hyben 12 years ago, and I didn't know that by me sending them a tweet, I would be where I am today, right? But it all started because I did that. I sent them a message based on what I learned, and it paid off. So do that, tag me, I'll reshare it, and of course, if there's any questions, we can continue that conversation there. But this is key. Reach out to people, and because other people like it when you apply what they learn. That way, and you come back. Here's another key thing too. It's coming back and telling them, hey, I apply this in my business and this is what happened. And when you do that, it also creates the opportunity to ask more questions to that person, for example, because now they know that you're going to take action. So now I know, for example, if you tag me on stuff and you're taking action, it's going to make it a lot more for me to respond to you and be like, hey, how can I continue helping you? Because I get excited when other people are taking action.
I love it. Beautiful. Okay, so here's what we're going to do now. We're going to take a little pause. We're going to do what we like to call our mortgage minute. And I would love for everybody to get their questions ready. So hopefully our team is showing you right about now a QR code. If that QR code does not work for some reason, there is a phone number as well. And for our live studio audience, you were handed a sheet. And so that QR code will be there with the phone number. Our live studio audience, we're actually going to break and we're going to be doing a VIP exclusive mastermind where we're really going to be tackling those questions from our live audience. But if you're one of our live streamers, we would love for you to go ahead and send in your questions and we will address a couple of those with the time we have left. So now let's break to our mortgage minute. I'd love for everyone to give a huge round of applause to Ms. Irma De Leon, 30 years in the lending industry.
Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Diego.
Yes.
I'm just floored with your great success.
Thank you.
Because I love your story about, you came here when you were 9 years old. And what really stands out for me is that, they always say luck is when you prepare and then you have the opportunity. I hear throughout your whole story that you prepared. And then when those opportunities came, you gave it all that you got, and that's why you're at where you're at and being so successful. So thank you so much for sharing your story, and I hope this inspires everybody as much as it inspired me. Let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you.
So last week I talked a little bit about our homeownership journey, right? And how we always have to be prepared and how we should prepare our clients. So this is actually piggybacks really well with what we're sharing today. So as we're going through that journey, as I mentioned, you always, when you go on your road trip, you're going to be, gathering everything, looking up, and discovering where you want to go. So I want to start there. one of the things that we should be doing as realtors and lenders is having that discovery time with our clients. So sometimes, we're talking about investors, but sometimes they don't even know they want to be an investor, right? It's our job to ask those important questions. And those questions might be, so you want to buy a home, what drives you to buy a home today, or why are you motivated? So they'll talk to you about that. And then there, you might be picking up like, hey, I kind of hear that you might want to build a portfolio. So you might be the game changer for that individual. And then you end up helping them buy their, multifamily home, right? And then I have a story where I helped a client where I helped him with a multifamily home. His mom then bought a multifamily home. Then guess what? They all wanted their single family homes, and they were able to do that with minimum down. So that's why it's really important to start the journey with a discovery and having those important questions answered and asking them and not being shy about it. So I want to encourage everybody during your home buying journey with your clients to take the time to do the discovery, and then this way you might be creating an investor and not even realize it. Thank you very much. Enjoy.
All right, we're back. Okay, so I'm going to go to the Q&A. And to get us started, I would love for you to share with everybody, you have your own podcast. So if you would share with everybody the name of your podcast and how they can find you.
Yes, for sure. So they can reach out to thefiinvestors.com. The podcast is called The Fi Investors, and it basically stands for the financial independent investors. I'm a big believer on that everybody can achieve financial independence. So my goal is to help others achieve that through real estate investing as a way that they can build a bigger life and not just a bigger lifestyle.
Perfect. Okay, so first question from our audience is, with inventory being low, where do you look for opportunities right now for your investors?
Yes, so this comes from, you have to have conversations for different people. Now, here's the other part too, is that what is the strategy that they want to do? To give you an example, Austin for a time was like super, super, super hot. People were buying homes and it would not cash flow as much. So as a long term. So what I did, again, going back to the strategy, I began helping more people that were wanting to rent by the room. So a property that maybe for some investors that are putting 20% down and doing the long-term strategy, they may break even or lose money, but with the co-living strategy, they are able to cash flow. So I've helped more investors being able to convert those properties into co-living homes, and that same inventory, you can create cash flow just by analyzing the properties in 4 different ways. So when there's low inventory, analyze properties those 4 different ways, and you'll be able to see which one works best for your investor. Just one strategy may not be enough.
Okay. All right. This agent is wanting to know, have you ever found yourself in a situation where you've had to let an investor client go? And if you have, what is maybe the best way to do that?
Yes. Well, the best way is, I have, for sure. And the best way is to let them know, hey, right now, based on, because sometimes they can be very demanding on their buy box, or sometimes they might be, they might think of one idea and they might create self-sabotaging, because that has happened too. And I tell them, hey, it may not be the best time for you to buy a home right now with me, and that is okay. So when you're ready, we'll help you buy one. Then if they're just like being the ones that like, they're just showing and very demanding and stuff like that, and nothing that you show them works, for them, based on their numbers or stuff like that, then you just have to tell them, hey, I may not be the best agent for you right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Tell them it's not you, it's me.
It's not you, it's me.
Yeah. But that gives it a very good way for them to, once they're ready, or if they change, to come back and to continue helping them, right?
Right.
But you just tell them, hey, I may not be the best agent for you to invest right now.
Okay. Another agent wants to know about your habits and maybe what is one habit that you do for yourself that you would love everyone else to learn.
Yeah. So one thing that has helped me a lot is understanding like my to-do list for the next day. So I use the planner called the Full Focus Planner. It's for 90 days, and it allows me to put on there the tasks that I want to do, that I want to tackle for the day, but I do it the night before. That way, when I wake up, it's not me thinking, hey, what do I need to do? I can just wake up. And again, going back to the E, execution, I can wake up and execute rather than thinking about the stuff that I need to do or that I should be doing.
Okay, perfect. All right, let's see. This agent would like to know the most challenging part of being an investor-friendly agent. What have you found to be the most challenging?
The most challenging part, I would say, would be if you telling the investor that for their current buy box, that it may not be the perfect time right now, or that we have to look elsewhere. Now, remember that a lot of agents would be like, oh my gosh, but if this market is not well, I'm gonna lose that client. That is not true, right? Because there might be opportunities, for example, in Austin, I started showing them homes in Austin, and it's like, hey, this market may not work for you right now, but I can connect you with a potential buyer, with a potential agent in Dallas or in Houston, right? And then what has happened is then later, because I recommended somebody that they trust, they did a really good job, then fast forward 2 or 3 years later, then they buy in Austin, they will connect with me as well. So I tell them, hey, an investor, if you're gonna be doing this for a long time, I know that I'm gonna be the one that can help you throughout that journey. Right now, this market may not be the best right now for you and your strategy, so let's work on getting others with the partners that I have with the investor-friendly realtors that I have connections with in other cities, and go from there, right? I come from more the abundance mindset that there's opportunities in timing for everybody, so it may not be right now, but I know later it will be. And I have stories that it has happened. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, beautiful. All right, another question is, should I finance properties personally or through an LLC?
Yes. So this is one thing that's really important that I always tell people in the beginning. As an investor, it's okay to put them just in your name with a loan in your name, because if you get an LLC, you're gonna have to get a commercial loan. Commercial loan are 20-year amortized, so the payments are gonna be a little bit higher. So it's better to get it in your name, especially in the beginning, and then after 6 months, you can always do a quitclaim deed into the name of the LLC. I always recommend doing that with an attorney or with a title company, so that everything is good and the lender doesn't call the loan and all of that.
Okay, what types of tools are you using for your flips? This agent wants to know if you're using Excel or if there's another type of tool you're using.
Well, for calculators and stuff like that, I have a couple of calculators that works for those flips. But of course, so they can reach out to me and I can send them those calculators. But the main thing here is understanding on the flipping side, people miss the carrying cost of the loan. They might miss that you're also paying property taxes, the insurance on that loan, on that home while the flip is going on. So it's not just, oh yes, I'm gonna borrow $200K and pay off the loan after I'm done. There's carrying costs throughout it. So make sure that you account for all of that, the insurance, property taxes, the interest rate, all of that. And understanding that if it takes you, when you're doing your numbers, let's say it takes you 3 months to do the rehab and put it on the market, if your market, you also have to understand that you have to allot the timing for the average days on market in your market. There might be markets that average days might be 30 days. Other markets would be like maybe 4 months. And some people may miss that. And it's very important to note, even me, I'll share a story here for me as a hard money lender too, because I've given some money to some flippers. And because I did more due diligence, me being an investor-friendly realtor, I did the due diligence in their market, me doing them, and I told them, I was like, hey, the numbers that you're giving me, it doesn't match with the numbers that I'm getting, and this is your market. So I negotiated terms that would work for me, that I knew that would happen. And they said, no, we will sell this house in 2 months. And I'm like, no, it's going to take you 4 to 6. And they're like, no, 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 we know this. I was like, okay, well, I'm negotiating it this way. And it happened. It took 6 months for them to sell the home and everything. So it's really important to track the average days on market in your market and make sure that you're tracking that as carrying cost.
Perfect. Sorry, I felt like I was going to sneeze there for a second. Okay, what financing strategies have you experienced that investors don't normally look at?
Yes, the making sure that they look at the DSCR loans. If they haven't, the DSCR loans are basically loans that they don't take much into account the income that you have as a person. They're doing the loans on the income of the property. So yes, they do run your credit, but they don't care about how much money you make from your job or anything else. They get the loan on the property based on the income, the rental income of the property. So making sure that you're working with a lender that offers that too is key, so that you can get potential properties with the conventional routes or DSCR loans.
Okay.
Yeah. There might be some that I know has happened where there might be loans that you can finance the property, you can buy it cash, and then you can do a cash out refinance quickly. And that can be like after you do the rehab and everything, because you're basically forcing the appreciation of the property. There are some loan programs too that will allow you to do a cash out refi much faster. Because I learned from experience that I bought a property with a buddy cash, and we thought that we would be able to just in a month do a cash out refi, and we found out that we needed to wait 6 months. Later we found out about this other program, but we had to wait 6 months, and we had to go to my friend's dad, be like, we're not going to give you the money next month. Give us 6 months. And so now I get to teach on that lesson.
Yes.
To other people. So pay attention to that.
Okay. So, I mean, I can't believe we're almost like, at that time to wrap up today's episode.
Yes.
So I would love for you to share with everybody, what is the one thing that you want to make sure everybody takes from today?
Yes. The one thing that I want all of you to take is that the lessons that you get from this class, from this episode, or from future ones, is like nothing's going to change unless you guys take action. So I know that I shared a lot, just write down one thing and apply that next week. If you can do that, you're golden.
All right, beautiful. And I'd love to remind everybody, right, to DM us with those pictures and a video sharing what they're going to do, the main nugget that they learned from today. Tag America's Real Estate Show. We'd love to put a recap video together of all this, and I know you want to help and follow. And just remind everybody, and hopefully our team is sharing a QR code right now to Diego's Instagram page, and just share with everybody again where they can find you and the name of your podcast. That'd be great.
Perfect. The name of the podcast, FI Investors, the FI Investors Podcast.
And your Instagram handle?
Instagram handle, Real Diego Corzo. More than happy to help anybody's needs, anybody's questions.
All right, perfect. Okay, so live streamers and our studio audience, we will be back here next Friday. We're here every single Friday at 11 a.m. Central. We have an amazing guest for you. A shout out to Alicia Trevino, who will be with us next week. You do not want to miss that episode. Make sure to follow us on the gram, Instagram, America's Real Estate Show. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you get all of our alerts. Our studio audience is getting ready to go into a very exclusive VIP mastermind with Diego, where we're going to break it down even further. So thank you all so much for being with us today. We appreciate you so much. Let's give Diego a huge round of applause.